You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Have you ever had a decision that you knew was the right decision and knew that there was something that you needed to do, but you've held off from doing it because all the logic seems to point the other way? Well, I've experienced that one recently, and I thought that I would share with you just the inner workings of what happened, why I've decided to make some decisions, big decisions really, in my business, and what's held me back from actually going through with it, and how I've overcome that, why I've actually now been able to move forward and make that decision with more confidence, with more intention, and why making these decisions is a really big step in the right direction versus the logic that was saying to not do it. So, unpacking the thought process inside my mind. Get prepared for it. Stay tuned because it's coming right up.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
Hello, my beautiful people. Thank you so much for tuning in to She's the Business podcast with me today. Today, I thought I would share with you a bit of my own thought process and some decisions that I have just made this week in my business that are going to help me shift into a place of more streamlined, leaner, better business with more free time and more accessibility for living life and doing what I want. So I have got a whole lot of stuff I'm going to, share with you, just what's been going on inside my head, the reasons for these decisions, and, the pros and cons of them as well, because some of these ones have been sitting with me for quite some time. I didn't just come up with it this week and then make a decision. I have been mulling it over for a while, and I wanted to share that with you. But before I get into that, I've had a few people leaving me some absolutely beautiful reviews. I thank you so much for your support and for taking the time just to drop me those few words. So I wanted to read out one to you today. She says, "Great content. This is a fantastic business and marketing podcast for women that really goes much deeper than a typical biz podcast. Bringing more fun, creativity, and well-being into your business? Yes, please." Thank you so much, Laura D23, from via Apple Podcasts, for leaving me that review. It really means the world to me. I appreciate you so much. So let's dive into today's episode. The reason why I'm here where I am right now, why have I've been making these decisions, what's happening. Yes, it is the start of November. We've been home from the caravan trip for about 3 months now. So that's been really interesting, right? Because we've had such a huge life shift from living full-time in a movable home, a caravan that's very small, with the kids, with not many of our, possessions. Obviously, all the stuff that's in the house, loads of our clothes, toys, books, my desk and all the business stuff, like all of that was away in storage while we were traveling. And we followed summer around, so we kind of intended to have this ever-long lasting summer, lots of beach time and swimming and, just things that make you feel really good when you're camping. We did a bit inland as well in the bush, went all the way into what we call the red centre of Australia, Uluru, and climbed the canyons, walked around Uluru because you cannot climb on it anymore. Which is just amazing. But what that meant was, obviously, during that time, our life was different because we were on the road, we're camping, we're traveling. So we weren't doing all of what I'd call BAU, life as usual, business as usual. Here, where that means, the kids are at school and now they've got all of their after school activities and their sports. And, because we're quite into sports and an active lifestyle, our kids have 3 sports each. Luckily, one of them overlaps and they do it together, but the other ones, they have their own ones. So for my son, who's 9, not yet even 10, he has something on every single day after school. And then we have Sundays as well, where we have surf lifesaving, or otherwise known as nippers, down on the beach every Sunday morning. So it's been really fast when you think about it, how quickly the schedule has just filled up since we got home. Like back in the house, back to school. I've got a bit more time for work, which is amazing. But the kids, the schedule is very full. There is something on every day. And then there's all the other activities around school and with school and the things that they need to be doing. So there's a lot. And I hadn't really realized just how much we'd offloaded when we went away on this caravan trip in terms of just not needing to have a schedule. Like we didn't need to get to anything or be anywhere except be wherever we were and be present. And it was just so lovely. It was amazing. I'm not saying I'm not enjoying being home. It is very nice to have a bit of space. It's definitely very nice to have our own bedrooms back, and for me to have my office back and just have a space where the kids' stuff is not in my office, or at least not most of the time. It does still creep in. But I also noticed that I got back home and my own behavior with my business was like, right, okay, now the kids are back at school. Now I've got some time again. I ramped things up in my business. So I started doing a whole lot more stuff. I had some things that were already planned. I ran a big live training, which ended a couple of weeks ago now. And, there was a lot of extra planning, preparation, work. Like my team, I think, felt the pressure because suddenly things just ramped up a great big deal from definitely where we had been, where it was very cruisy while I was away in the caravan. And anyway, I got to the end of the live training and I was like, I absolutely love teaching live. I really, really enjoy it. But I also was really present to just how intense that felt, just how much I was actually doing in the business, how much, time I was spending, and, to be really open, honest, and transparent with you, I felt like I shifted a bit away from my core values, which I speak about all the time. Is like, well, when you have a business, you don't have to be working hard all the time to reach your goals. It's really about designing the business that suits what the outcome is that you want. Like, what is the lifestyle you want? How much time do you want to be working? How much money do you want to earn in that time? Let's create the game that you can win. And I talked about that a lot in the training, ironically, at the same time, feeling like I wasn't really living the life I wanted to live because I was spending so much time, behind the scenes, kind of preparing for the next day and joining all the dots and doing the things that I needed to do so that people who'd registered could show up and be reminded of it and all of these things. Now, yes, a lot of that work is done now, and I can replicate that, and I don't need to do so much work again next time. However, I got really present to this, and I thought, I am very much the kind of person where integrity is 100% a value of mine. I like to walk my talk, and I really like to do that in a big way. Like my ideal workday looks a lot like going for a walk, a good hour along the beach, maybe before the kids go to school, maybe after I've sent them to school. And I'm like, thank God they're out the door. I'm taking the next hour and a half for me to do some exercise, have a shower, and then I'll start work. That is for me really a non-negotiable in my day. I fit that in somewhere, and I know that the later you leave in the day, more often than not, it tends to kind of drop down the priority radar, especially if there's kids have activities and they have all their sports and things that we've committed to. So I started to feel like, hey, I need to realign back in with my core values and back in with even my own principles and what I coach and teach on in my business, to be doing that myself. Like, why am I putting myself through all these intensive things? And it was just the training that I was doing that was intense, but I started to realize I've got a lot in my business. Like, I've got things that have just been added at a certain time and added and added. I've at one point decided, well, I might as well start a TikTok channel. I don't have one yet, and someone else says that they're really enjoying it. Why don't I go and explore that? I've kind of done that. And every time I've done it, it's not like it's a huge thing that I've undertaken. I've just sort of quietly added it on. But I've got to this point where I'm like, well, how much more could I add? Actually, I think I've got too much that's happening in here. And because of that, it means that I'm not putting in the effort where, really, if I was going to make a success out of something, I do need to put energy into it. I need to put some effort into it, and I need it to be intentional and strategic, which is exactly what I advise my clients to do. So, long story short, I sat down and actually wrote out what I'm doing currently in my business. What are the different one-to-one service offerings that I offer? What are my group coaching programs like Business Jam with my accelerator group, putting those down? What are the courses that I have, like the short courses, freebies, free trainings that I run, and then all the social media. And I started to look at this board and I was like, oh my God, I have got a lot going on. And really, I am doing all of these. Yes, I have got a few people who support me with, some tasks and some, things in the back end, but a lot of this I'm doing. And how does this align with my goal of having this part-time business? Really, I've got to let go of some things. I need to cut loose the stuff that is not serving me, that is not serving anybody else, and streamline, get more efficient, like actually claim back some time and energy. And, one of the things that I like to tell myself is do less, do it better. Not do more and be everywhere. Like, that's just so unnecessary. And so I had a look at these things on the board, and I got out a red marker and a green marker, and I started putting red crosses against the things that I'm going to get rid of, the things I'm going to drop. And it was really interesting. The reason why I thought I'd share this with you is because sometimes it's hard to let go. Sometimes it's really hard to let go of something that you've put a lot of effort and time into. And so I wanted to share with you one of the decisions that I made is to close down my Facebook group. I have a Facebook group that I have had since 2017 that I started way back in the beginning. The world was a little bit different even just then, like that's 6 years ago. It's different. It's a little bit different now. And then I started the Facebook group as a way to start to build my community, as a way for people to find me and, to connect and to engage. And obviously things have changed over the years. I've started the podcast. This is now 2 years old. I've got other social media platforms. I have a lot more going on in the external world. And I still have this Facebook group that is sitting there with about 1,500 people in it. And it was probably about a month ago, maybe even 6 weeks ago, I had this thought when I was out on one of my walks. That's where I normally get these ideas or downloads, as we might call it in the spiritual world. I had a download from the universe and was like, you need to just get rid of that Facebook group. It is just sitting there. What are you doing with it? Why are you putting a little bit of energy into it and not a lot of energy into it? And, I kind of took that and thought, yeah, well, what am I doing? I believe in, as I just said, like, do less, do it better. Like, actually put the effort and the energy into the things that are going to make the difference for you. And so it's really interesting because I've hesitated. I got this information came to me, said you should get rid of it, I thought, yes, I definitely should. This is 100% the right thing to do. I suddenly felt really light, really free at the thought of getting rid of my Facebook group. But then what happened was the other little voice inside my head started saying, oh, but you've spent 6 years with this group and you built it to a point where you've got quite a lot of people in there. Yes, not all of them are active anymore because, I started it so long ago. But there are still, a good chunk of active members still in this group. And then, the other things, the voice was saying to me, well, what if when you want to promote stuff, like you've got this group that you can promote it to? And, there's lots of reasons why I should keep this group, right? But yet I just, even though the logical brain now breaks it down and tells me all the reasons why I should keep it, I am still, so today when I was doing that decision, what am I cutting free? What am I keeping? I looked at the two main platforms. I've got my podcast here and I've got this, Facebook group. Both things people subscribe to. You actively subscribe to it. And I thought, well, if I had to choose one that I'm really putting my energy into, it's 100% the podcast. Like, that's not even a choice for me to make. Like, I already know that is a decision. It's the Facebook group, because I haven't, I guess, had the energy in there over the last year or so. That's really why it is the way it is. And I'm sure that if I decided to and wanted to put the energy in, I could build the group up and it could be, something amazing again. But where I am right now, I know that if I want to build another group again, I can do that. I can start a group and I can build it. I've done it many times because I usually have a group whenever I do like a big live training. I open up a group for the live training. I get people join. So a couple of weeks ago, 70 odd people joined me in a pop-up Facebook group for Master Your Marketing. And I was like, well, that literally just took a few days. Like, it's not a lot of work to start a group and have people join it. So I know I can do it again. And I think that's why I'm not afraid of shutting down this group, this kind of asset. Yes, it's an asset that I built for the business, that I put a load of time and effort into, that has been something that was a really great tool for me a while back, but that I've fallen out of use of using, to be fair. And I just see now as it more of a drain on energy and on time and, and being there than what I really need. So for now, that group is going to be archived and I may start it up again sometime in the future. I may not, but Facebook doesn't allow you just to delete it. So it's probably going to sit there as an archived group. And, who knows what I'll decide in the future. But I've made that decision to close it down. It feels so good. You have no idea. And now I'm looking, where else can I cut loose some pieces of my business? And I've earmarked a couple of my short courses that I'm going to, light the fire under. I'm going to blow them up. They're going to be gone because, honestly, they sit there. There are things I could do with them. There's so much that you can do, right? That's the thing. Like, there's never any end of things you can do. But if it's not serving you right now, if it doesn't have a really good place in your strategy of your overall business, then why are we holding on to it? Why am I holding on to these things just because I created them? I'm in a place where I am lighting some fires. I'm cutting off some of what I'd call the pieces that, not that aren't good, but just that I am not going to put my energy into, because I want to conserve my energy and go all in on the ones I've earmarked as the main places that I'm going to be. So getting really clear on that, it means that I'm going to be very present in some of my social media places, but not so much in others. And that's great. That this is part of my streamlining, part of simplifying, part of reducing the effort so that I can actually grow. The more spread out we get, the more different things that we have to manage, the more pieces that we've got to put energy into, just the slower it makes your business. And the funny thing is, I've known this for a long time. I help clients with it all the time. And here I was really unknowingly doing that myself in my own business, just because things kind of just evolved that way. They evolved into what it is. And, next thing you know, wow, I've got 15 different places that I'm trying to be in, 15 different offerings. Wow, that is a lot of stuff. I don't need to have all of that. So I'm getting rid of it and just going to have a lot more fun. But you're also going to notice the higher presence in the places that do matter, which means that, I'm doing some really fun live sessions on my Instagram once a week, where I'm just sort of jumping on there and having a bit of a chat and sharing some thoughts. So if you love your Instagram as well, look me up there, come and connect. And if you like to listen to me rambling, I'm guessing that you might, if you've made it this far on this episode today, then you're probably going to enjoy hanging out with me on Instagram. You can actually say hi and we can kind of connect, actual person to person, which will be really fun. So come and hang out with me there. That's where I'm going to be. I'm also loving Threads at the moment. This is just something I got into not long after it launched. I'm not going to say I was right in there the very first, but I think I was like 77,000 or something, maybe 77 million, who knows, 77 something. I like that number. 7 is my lucky number. And I've been posting and, slowly been growing. And then just in the last week, I've just had a little bit more time just to, pop a few comments in here and there and to really engage with people. And it's just amazing how quickly that Threads community does respond. They love it, and I love it. And so there's a really great thing happening in there. If you're in Threads, come and connect and say hi and let's just hang out. It kind of feels like a fun coffee shop where you just got a whole lot of different people coming in and out every day, and you can have these little engagements and conversations with people on all sorts of different topics. So just feels very refreshing and enjoying it. So that's really it. That is it for me today. So I've taken you on a bit of a dive into my thought process, a dive into, some decisions that I've made, and really let you in on some decisions that have been big for me that I was avoiding doing, because as soon as I thought them, then I thought of all the reasons why not to cut them off, why I shouldn't get rid of them. Obviously, fear dressed up as logic, and really getting present to that and realigning into my values and looking at the strategy for my business and how that model is actually going to deliver the lifestyle I want. These are the kind of decisions that we have to make. So I've put on my CEO hat. I've made some CEO decisions today, and looking forward, really excited about it. Excited about the way forward from here, about the freedom, about just the growth and the energy that I'm going to be able to put into the stuff that really matters, such as this beautiful podcast. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And I will speak to you next week.
Now, if I asked you, do you know who your ideal customer is? More than likely, you're going to answer, yes, of course I do. Or at least I know enough about them to market to them. Or do you? You see, the number one reason why most audiences aren't converting into buyers, or even if you're having trouble building an audience in the first place, is simply because you haven't gone deep enough to understand who it is exactly who you're speaking to. There's no connection being made there, and therefore those people aren't taking that next step. They're not connecting with you, they're not connecting through to become your clients. It's not so much about who they are as a person, who you might see, but more what is actually going on inside their head. What are those questions running on repeat inside their minds? What is it that they're feeling so stuck and frustrated about? And really, why aren't they able to shift themselves out of that place? Now, these are just some of the amazing questions that I get you to explore inside my brand new Customer Avatar Worksheet. I've called it the ultimate Customer Avatar Worksheet because you will never, ever have seen one like this before. It is so much about what's going on in the mind, with a couple of questions just to help you get the visual profile of who it is you're speaking to as well. But clearly, it is their thoughts and the way to connect to their thoughts that shifts somebody from being just a person out there in the market into being somebody who's an active fan, a member of your audience, and not only that, but also a buyer. And that takes deeper connection than what most people are prepared to do. So if you're prepared to go that additional step to get really deep and meaningful with your ideal customer, then head over to my website and download this free worksheet right now, and you can get started. It's at jessicaosborne.com/customer-avatar. I've got the link for you here in the show notes, so you can hop straight over there and just get it, download it, and let me know how you get on. Like, how did you find this exercise that I take you through? Because I guarantee you are going to learn more than one brand new thing about your ideal customer that you never knew before. So enjoy, good luck. I hope you love it as much as I do.